Hi everyone, I'm Rick Zanotti and this is Tech Done Over. Today, I want to talk about that funny feeling you get when you have gas. Probably not the gas you're thinking of, though that's a funny feeling too. I'm talking about gas. Gear acquisition syndrome. Gas. Doesn't hurt as much, at least not initially, but it can hurt a lot more later in your pocketbook. It can also hurt because with gas, you tend to buy things you don't need, you may not even want, but you somehow get. That's because gas is something that kind of gets a hold of you. You want what you want, and you want it now. And then you realize, maybe I didn't want it. Maybe that's not what I want. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten it. But it's too late. Gas happened. And gas sucks. Sometimes. It can be fun too. But a lot of times you have too much gas. Then you know what happens when you have too much gas. You've just spent too much. What were you thinking? Gas. Last year we bought a lot of Nikon cameras. Never had a Nikon before. But we bought 3 full-frame Nikon cameras, plus lenses, expensive lenses, because we had a fairly good year, and that meant you pay a lot of taxes. And if you pay a lot of taxes, you need to defray those taxes or you're going to go broke. So how do you do it? Well, there's a couple of rules that allow you to invest in camera gear, or gear in general. In other words, the government wants you to have gas. Doesn't make sense, does it? I didn't think so. But that is how things work in this crazy world. So, you have to spend money to cut your taxes in half. I am so much in favor of a flat tax because then you don't have to do any of these stupid things. Everybody would really pay a lot more money. Poor, rich, everybody would pay more, and yet you'd have a lot more to use to your discretion. Not the government's discretion, but yours. But anyway, we have these rules that allow us to invest in equipment, in gear, and then you can rapid depreciate it, which means it's a good thing. It's a good thing on your books, it's a good thing for your bottom line. But it's a bad thing because it forces you into a buy situation, gas, if you will, that makes you rush, because you don't always know what you're going to have until the end of the year, even though you do your quarterlies and everything else as a business. Things come up, things get defrayed, you don't really know exactly what your bottom line numbers are until the end. So when you buy a lot of equipment, you're not always buying smart, you're buying quickly. Now, all of the Nikon cameras we got last year were very good. We also got some Canon cameras. We had some Panasonics. They're all very good. We've gotten them over the last 2 years. We've had a lot of gas, and it's worked out pretty well. So we've gotten a lot of gear. But now as we're looking at things, we don't need half the gear we got. We don't need all the lines of gear we have. We've primarily been a Canon shooter house. We've been shooting Canon for a long time. We shot with camcorders, going back to the GL2, and before that, we shot with some other cameras, let's say Sony's, Panasonic's. We finally shot with Nikons. But ideally, we've always been pretty much a Canon shop. We also have Panasonic Micro Four Thirds line of GH4s and GX8s, and even a HCX 1000 camcorder, plus a smaller one we got recently. And they're all very good. The camcorder we didn't really need, so we're going to get rid of that one because the chip is just a little bit too small in that for what we like. The color resolution isn't bad, it is 4K. However, it's not what we really wanted for us, for what we do. Our Canons we've been using forever as camcorders, and they work very well. We've had GL2s, XHA1s, we've had XA10s, or actually, yeah, 10s, XA25s. We're going to be getting XA30s soon, or probably 35s. They work really well. They're not 4K, I don't really care, because most of the corporate video we do gets mashed down into small 720p, smaller, and occasionally, very rarely, 1080p. So 4K doesn't mean much, and these are mostly interviews we do, simple things. We don't have to do a lot of cropping. It doesn't make any difference to us. So we have all of these cameras. Then we bought a full line of full-frame Nikons. That included 2 D750s and 1 D810. They're all beautiful cameras, but it wasn't what we needed. We could have switched 100% to Nikon, but I still like my Canons, even though they're not perfect. They don't all have touch screens. They do have beautiful output, and I still like the output of the Canon color better than Nikon. That's just a preference. I'm not saying one is better than the other or worse. It's a preference. We got a Canon XC10 recently, which is a camcorder slash faux DSLR. It's not quite a DSLR, but it does a really nice job. The picture qualities are beautiful on those things. Gives you about 12 megabyte shots, and they look really good. We could use that on the road. They're really ENG type cameras. But the thing is, we had a lot of lines. We didn't need that many brands in-house, that many lenses, that many this, that many that. So we're getting rid of the Nikons. I say that with a tear in my eye because I do like them. They're beautiful cameras. The D750 ergonomically is a great feeling camera. I don't particularly like the way Nikon does all its buttons and the constant double combination of buttons. I find that sort of irritating. I do think Canon has better UIs, better menus. But that's, again, an opinion. Cameras are like word processors or anything else. They have to fill your needs, the way you feel, the way you like to shoot and do things. But gas is an overpowering element. Gear acquisition syndrome. It can make you buy things you may not need. We bought a new tech TriCaster 460 Professional about 2 years ago, or 3 almost. We didn't need it. We thought we would like it. It was noisy. It did an okay job, but it required a lot more work to set up and run and do everything else. It had a much larger learning curve, and we said, why did we buy it? We spent $30,000 on that thing. And ultimately, we sold it a year later for about 10. Gear acquisition syndrome. And again, that was for tax purposes. We figured, well, we have to spend money, might as well spend it on something we think we need. And unfortunately, what you think you need isn't always what you need. It's what you're influenced by other venues to think you need. And marketing is a very powerful message sometimes, not to mention people you know and other things. It makes you want things that maybe you don't need, as I've said before. So the Nikons are going away. We're keeping most of the Canons we have, which we only really have 3 at this point. I'm waiting for the full frames to come out, the new ones. When they do, like the 5D Mark IV and maybe a new 6D Mark II, if it ever comes out, we'll probably get those. But for now, for shooting, we've got the 80D, we've got the 7D Mark II, which shoots beautifully. They both have the dual pixel CMOS sensor focusing, which nobody has. Nobody focuses as well as Canon right now. Tracking is incredible. The other ones aren't bad, but they're not as good. So we're going to stick with that. I am right now shooting with the 80D and a 50mm 1.4 lens. It's pretty nice. It's a USM lens. Does a pretty good job. Very quiet. Once it tracks focus, we're good. I think I am at f4.0, which is pretty sharp on this lens. We're at 1/60th of a second for our shutter, and we've got ISO at about 1250. So that kind of gives you an idea. We have one light right now, which is the Westcott Flex light. Lighting, it's a 1x1 light. That's what's lighting us. We did white balance, not much difference between our lights. We also have a little bit of track lighting, but that's mostly lighting a little bit of that wall, and that's about it. Everything here is at about 5500 Kelvin, so everything's daylight. So anyway, gear acquisition syndrome. When you watch people doing reviews, when you watch how nitpicky some people are, don't take that to heart. Most people don't care about some of the features they're nitpicky about. They're good reviews. They give you an idea of what you can and can't do with a camera. But don't run out and buy every camera just because somebody says it's good. It may be good to them or for them. It may not be good for you. So keep that in mind. Whenever you're looking at buying any kind of gear, the gear you buy may not fit you. It may fit the reviewer who loved it. It may not fit your needs. everything and everyone is different. So buy things you're comfortable with, buy things that have some sort of strategic goal in mind. For example, if you're going to record, you don't want 4 cameras to record, you're going to spend all your time color correcting. Buy cameras that are compatible or have a similar color space. That would make a big difference. Buy cameras and video recorders that you are happy with, that have the functionality you need and want. There is no, I repeat, no perfect camera. Whether it's a video camera or a DSLR or a DSLM, no one is perfect. But you can get pretty good ones. And you can find good compromises in brands. If you're looking for a great DSLR and you don't care about video, then buy a great DSLR. Don't be influenced by, oh man, I really want that Canon 5DS, but it doesn't shoot video. Well, that's really a photo camera. If you want video, either compromise, get a different camera. If you want 4K, get a Panasonic GH4. 2.5 years after it came out, it's still one of the best cameras out there. I love that GH4. Not to mention it's ergonomically a great camera. No one beats it. But there'll be a GH5 soon, probably, or a GH4 Mark II, whatever they call it. When that comes out, that would be another great video camera. It shoots good photos, but it's not as good as a full-frame camera, period. No matter how good it is, how good your sensors are or your lenses are, and they can be very good. I've got the top-of-the-line lenses for the GH4. They're good, but they still don't quite look as good as a full-frame sensor. It's just a difference in pixels. You get a little more depth in the colors and everything else on the full frames. The Nikon full framers were beautiful, but I still think the Nikon color is better. Sony color, it's a little odd. On the Sonys I played with, it's not bad, but the colors are not quite as reliable as what you get on a Canon, or even a Nikon for that matter. But they do have beautiful dynamic range. Do you care? Maybe, maybe not. Depends what you're shooting and why you're shooting it. Most of what we do is video interviewing. We've done a lot of corporate video, a lot indoor, a lot outdoor. You don't need to have the best camera in the world to do that. You have to have a good camera. And we do have good cameras with good lenses. So we don't need much more than that. And the rest is all about microphones. Now, today I'm not shooting with an expensive microphone. It's a $200, $250 Rode Video Mic Pro. It's a very good, this is the number 2 version 2, which has the Rycote base, which means it actually works better. You can put it on, you don't have to worry about the bands falling off like the old version. It's a pretty good microphone. I did actually shoot with this camera before, mic only, input mic or internal mic. It wasn't bad. For a cheap camera mic, as they usually are, it wasn't too bad. It was pretty decent, and this is a room that has a little bit of humming all the time. So instead I'm shooting with the Rode Video Mic Pro, which has the filter on, so the low pass filter, so it gets rid of some of the rumbling noise from AC, which is right over the camera. And that's it. When you buy gear you need. Don't listen to every reviewer, no matter who it is, and just say, oh, if they love it, it must be great. No, it's great for them. Keep in mind, some reviewers do get paid to do reviews. Just keep that in mind. Not all do. Most of the ones we know don't, but there are some who do. Be careful with that because they have a vested interest. I remember when Canon came out with the C100 Mark II, there were about 20 reviewers and they're all saying the same exact verbiage. Canon, that wasn't smart. What they're doing is they're reading from a script and adding a couple of comments of their own, but the exact order of the review was the same among all the reviewers. Now, what are the astronomical odds of that really happening? Pretty slim? Yeah, you think? So I don't know how much they got paid, if they got paid or they just got a free camera. I don't know. But in either case, there's a lot of reviewers who don't do the camera or themselves a lot of credit when they review, basically stating the corporate line. Because that's not an honest review. That's a review of what they've been told to say. They may like the camera, but it is tainted by a review that they've been told to say. The best reviewers do their own reviews. They don't follow any specific order. They may come up with the same conclusions as the official review, or they may not. They may have a totally different approach. The key is make an honest review. And even that review is honest for you. You may not like the features that they're talking about or vice versa. So always keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm Rick Zanotti, Ford Tech Down Over. This was probably gone on way too long, but that's what happens when you have gas. You have to sit and kind of get over it. Gear acquisition syndrome, that is. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.